Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is House of the Dragon Season 2. Here to discuss, as always, a stalwart member of Team Black, Chris Trio.
Dracarys, Gooch, how are you?
Dracarys. I'm doing well, not on fire, which is
that's good. Yeah,
I can't speak for everybody in the Seven Kingdoms,
especially this season. Goddamn, I would like shit my pants if I saw a dragon flying down at me. Like no issue.
I do like how this season sort of captures the horror of the dragons used in warfare in this show. I think it's a really good. Kristen Cole. I mean, like, you know, really is like that character who's like emotionally scarred by the fact that he what he witnessed on the battlefield with the dragons.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it.
Absolutely. No, there's some great dragonry in this. They are just walking nukes. Ryan Condal in the House of the Dragons podcast, which I listened to last season as well, really talks about the dragons as WMDs. Yeah. Like the fact that they are this nuclear level threat, and they should be treated as such, and they are. I feel like it's like a pretty cool way to kind of describe it and sort of write them in. But you know, Trio, we're getting into it already. Barely had any banter. I love it.
How are you enjoying House of the Dragon Season 2, or how did you enjoy it because it is over?
Yes, I thought it was,
and you finished it today. Actually.
I did.
So you're fresh.
I'm fresh off it.
I finished it.
I'm feeling
week.
hot. I'm hot like a dragon.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Good.
I did. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I don't think so. I was a week behind every week because my girlfriend and I would watch.
But you heard.
But and like I would get all the people talking about it in broad strokes, and then I'd see reviews, and there were episodes that were like 10s and 9s, and I'm like, oh wow, these are gonna be really good. And I watched them, and I was like, they were pretty good, but like they weren't like blowing me away, and that's partly, like we were saying even in our last podcast, setting expectations, and you bring that in with you, all that good stuff, or bad stuff. But I did enjoy it. I think, Rhaenyra is fantastic. She really
Emma Darcy, man.
She really holds the show up in a lot of ways for this for me.
Yeah.
She is. She kicks ass. I wasn't in love with the Daemon stuff this season. It felt like it just wasn't going anywhere.
You know what's funny about the Daemon stuff? I really liked it because it was like kind of goofy, but like really important in the end.
It's true.
Daemon needed to kind of go a little bit nuts on his own, in his own head, or whatever was going on.
It had a great payoff. Yeah.
Yeah, and like for him to only realize like, no, all this trivial shit that I'm think was important, not important at all. I need to
if we don't do this, we're all gonna die.
Right. Yeah. We'll talk about that payoff in a little bit.
Absolutely. Daemon, I think, sticks out as like, just one of those things where it's like, all right, where is this going? But I do, like I said, think it had a good payoff.
Yeah, again, like a lot of, like, he walks into Harrenhal, nobody's there.
No.
Sword drawn, and then, like, there's Lord Simon Strong. Oh, hello.
How can I help you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very funny.
Simon Strong is, it's funny, because, like, a lot of those scenes are comical.
They are.
But then it's like, oh, he's eating his mom out.
Right.
His mom that he never met, mind you.
Right.
And they're kind of showing you the trauma, bringing back Millie Alcock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as Rhaenyra and Paddy Considine as Viserys, and like the impact of like Viserys being like sickly and being like, here you go, Daemon, take the crown.
Yeah.
Take
like,
the
it's
crown.
What you wanted. Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know.
Those moments were really great. They were fantastic. And again, Paddy Considine, man, he might be one of my favorite characters in all of Game of Thrones. Like, he's so good in that first season, and even just
very likable,
incredibly likable, just so altruistic in a way that you don't really see in these shows.
And speaking of likable, one thing I really like about seeing it in season 2, I love, we have our villains in Game of Thrones: Joffrey, irredeemable; Cersei, irredeemable. In House of the Dragon, even Kristen Cole, a lot of people like to hate him, but like nobody is pure evil.
Right.
Aemon is not pure evil. Aegon is not pure evil. Otto Hightower not pure evil. Rhaenyra is not pure evil. Like nobody, everyone has redeemable factors.
Well, and even like what's her name? Who's the Red Queen again? The Green Queen.
Alicent Hightower.
Like she does genuinely believe that was at first that was what he was asking him to do, was that he was crowning Aegon. So I get that to a degree, but then at the same time, when we get to later, and we'll get to that more, I do kind of shift back and forth on it. I think you're right that there are a few less grays. I still even think in Game of Thrones.
Oh, there's a lot of grays.
I'm sorry. You're right. It's almost entirely gray. Whereas
it's not. It's what's a mix between black and green, like blackish green.
Yeah, a dark green.
Yeah, dark green. Yeah.
I think that there are a few more now that you're pointing it out to me, like starkly bad people in those first 6 seasons or those seasons of Game of Thrones, I should say.
Right.
But those were still definitely super gray.
A bad person,
especially by the end.
Jaime has the twist.
Well, and it is
like,
funny.
Even the Hound, like again, don't like him at first, but kind of comes around.
Right.
But like they're like from the jump with the House of the Dragons, like everyone is painted much differently, and I like that because I think it like. Okay, Aegon is the Targaryen king who's like not rightfully king, and I don't think you default aside with Team Green, but like he is like a kid in a way.
Yeah, he has no
like,
idea.
And
yeah,
you see where he's like talking to Alicent and being like, like what do I do, Mom?
She's like nothing, you loser, basically. Like how about shut the fuck up, idiot?
And I mean, Alicent like. I think is like has some like shitty moments, but like I don't dislike her as a character. I actually really like her. I think you feel bad for her. She's
sometimes
been thrusted
yeah.
into this situation, and I love like in season 1 when she comes into Rhaenyra's wedding with Laenor, and she's wearing green, and then I think it's Harwin Strong and somebody else, and he's like, you know what that means, right? And they explain like the green being like Old Town is at war, the High Towers are officially at war, and like her dress meaning that, and then at the end of season 2, she wears blue for the first time since the war is over, the High Towers are out. And Alicent finally realizes that, I sort of set these events in motion. You were right. Viserys was talking about the Song of Ice and Fire. He was talking about Aegon the Conqueror, not Aegon II, my son. But what do we do? And, and Rhaenyra being, I really love that scene because I felt like Alicent and Rhaenyra were like just girls talking.
Yeah, mothers. They were mothers. Yeah, friends, mothers and
being
friends.
A bit over emotional about
and
what
I
they
think,
were talking about.
And I think they're focusing heavily in these first 2 seasons or in the show on motherhood and like she's watching her. The reason that she's getting
it's all about moms.
And she sees her as a mother having to choose which son has to die, and that gets her
again,
a little.
Being like, is there a way we can't? I have to kill Aegon.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? Like this?
You
is
have
it?
to kill Aegon.
Yeah,
yes,
like I know you do.
And
and
she folds there rather quickly. Thinks about it. Gets sad, but is like, no,
you're right. That's all I can do. And I think that there's a lot of good stuff in that and how they set up these different teams, for lack of a better term, Team Black, Team Green.
I mean, that's what they're calling it.
That is how they're called. Yeah. I think some people do get left in the wayside, like Hightower, the old hand. I feel like he disappeared. Yeah, and then we see him near the end.
Well, I think it was the idea that he was just, I'm going back to Old Town. See ya. Nope, you're getting in prison.
Yeah,
and that was the idea of like, we don't know what happened to Otto.
Right.
Like, where did he go? Oh, now it makes sense because he was jailed.
Yeah. So where was he on a boat there? Or
I don't think. Yeah, I think it's obviously going to be a next season.
Yeah,
thing. I don't think we really.
So, and
know.
they did say they're only doing 4. Okay.
They confirmed.
That's cool.
Like a day after the finale aired, 4 seasons. So, and I love that. I hope they do 3 and 4 back to back so we can get them a little quicker.
Sure.
Because we do have to wait 2 years for the season 3, and I think a lot of people were down on the finale, and I think that's just a lot of people being impatient and wanting such a climactic payoff that it's like, no, I'm really invested in the arcs going on here and this conflict and this drama and these characters. Like, season 3 is going to be all out war.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it. But like, just because season 2 doesn't end with like a Lucerys death like it does in season 1, and it's like, holy shit, the Dance of the Dragons has officially begun. The first head has been taken.
I will say though, I felt like they were kind of setting this season up as that in the marketing and stuff, and even like the way it felt like this was going to be the big like, let's fucking go. But
in a way,
in some respects
it's not
it was.
That it's not. The Dance of the Dragons has begun.
Some of the stuff just felt a little bit hurry up and wait for me. I'm like, oh, and maybe we can even bring it back to the boys here a little bit for me in the way of like, I felt that it all really paid off pretty well in the end, and I think we have a good setup for where we're going in season 3. But I don't know, it just felt a little disjointed at times for me, I guess, for lack of a better term, and maybe not as focused as I would have liked it.
I wouldn't. I think you're right. I would not say this season is focused per se. It's Game of Thrones. I mean, it's It's Westeros.
Right.
There's a lot going on.
Right.
Definitely not as much, but there's definitely more going on than season 1 than season 2. And that's another thing I liked about season 2, how different it is from season 1. Not that it starts to be more like a normal show, but like, you know, I kind of like how season 1 is like a much different approach at storytelling than season 2 is.
Definitely.
You know, and we do get a lot of different things in season 2 than season 1. We get a lot of looks at what's going on with the common folk, Hugh the Hammer, Ulf. You know, the dragon seeds,
Yep.
the people, the Targaryen bastards. Like, we're kind of seeing life in King's Landing through them a little bit, and like what they're going through, and like, you know, it's funny because like they do talk about the blockade being like a big deal, but like we finally actually, well, like here's what the blockade means
Right.
for King's Landing. Like, people are starving and desperate, and they're going to do what they can to get.
They're
food.
good about getting into the political nuances of it that would cause an upheaval. Almost, yeah.
Aemon's I guess the matriarch of the brothel he goes to, the one, you know, when he's like in the fetal position, which is a pretty interesting scene.
Yeah.
You know, she says it like, you know, when is it when, like, she says when kings fight or when royalty squabbles, like it's the little people who pay the price, and you see exactly that. Yeah, and then like that's definitely with the dragons, obviously, too. You know,
Absolutely.
like people are getting fucked up. Aemon destroys that one city just sort of out of like
Spite, almost.
anger,
yeah,
like
anger.
fuck you have more dragon riders now. I'm just gonna go burn this village because I can, because
well,
it's easy.
and
I
think
I just can.
And it's because the village that was loyal to Rhaenyra, right? Is the
Right,
idea?
yeah.
Yeah, no, and Aemon
Killing
is
innocents. Nobody was there of any consequence. You know.
Aemon is an interesting character, and I think
Love him.
the idea
Love
of him really kind of conniving
chin.
and the whole that chin, the blue steel he's always giving. He's a great looking character for sure. He's super Game of Thronesy.
Yeah.
In that respect, I think his motivations are interesting. I like how conniving and evil and terrible he is. He's probably the most like straightforwardly evil to me so far, out of that family. Like, or just like,
especially towards
sinister,
the end with like Helena, like
yeah,
yo, you got to ride the dragon. You're a Targaryen. This is like your destiny, your legacy. You have to do this for your family. No,
fuck
like,
off.
You know, and
that scene,
you know, telling him how he's going to die, and you know, Helena is definitely prophetic. So everything she says is true.
I think
so
she's
Aemon's
like Raven linked somehow, right? Like third eye, like that's what they seem to imply to me in this. Yeah.
I was hearing theories that maybe we're going to see her communicate with Bran.
That'll be interesting.
I don't know if they'll bring him back for
Right.
that, but like, you know, when Daemon with Alice Rivers and she shows, you know, I was like, she's got to be some sort of Children of the Forest thing because of Harrenhal and the fact
The
that
woman that's in there.
yeah, right. Like, who?
I was
is
seeing
she?
someone
Is
saying
she
that she's
real?
like a.
Yeah,
Because
I
that
was
wouldn't make
questioning
sense.
that.
Because I didn't even think about that. She's not talking to anyone else.
There's a scene
but
when,
she's
like-
like working in the place. Yeah.
There's a scene when Simon Strong like walks past her and he just double takes like
Yeah.
like somebody like something walked past him.
Interesting.
And I don't really know what the fuck she is, but some sort of Children of
Red
the Forest
priest maybe connection or
affiliated.
something. I don't know.
I don't know if it's a red priestess.
Yeah.
But I would say Children of the Forest, and then, you know, Daemon gets to see Brandon Rivers, who becomes the three-eyed raven, who we see in Game of Thrones. And, you know, here's, like, your death. Here's what's going to happen. The White Walkers. I love how Season 2 is really pulling in A Song of Ice and Fire and kind of making Game of Thrones as a show, like, really important to what's happening in the House of the Dragon and the Dance of Dragons.
I wish I didn't know that Arya just stabs him.
We're not here to talk about that.
I know.
We're not here to talk about that.
I know.
Yeah, like
It does, but that does genuinely take some of that away from me.
See, like I haven't thought about that at all.
Like, it's so bad. It's so bad the way that ends. And like, I'm like, oh, okay, but they're gonna be fine. So like that does feel a bit like they're kind of member bearing me, honestly.
sure. I mean, but that is kind of the whole point of the universe in a way.
To a degree, but I think you
You
could
know?
just focus on this of the time and focus on the people at that moment. And like, I don't think you need to necessarily orient it around something that comes like that late.
But
you know?
that's, I guess that's, well, okay, so here's the interesting thing about the book. The book is like a history book. It's
Right.
accounts of things that happen. So in the show, it is not that. It is we're seeing it through the perspective of the characters that were actually going through it. So we get to see more. That scene of Alicent in the Church of the Nine with Rhaenyra, when she sneaks in as a nun,
Yeah.
that's not in the books, but like nobody saw that, so it would make sense.
Right.
Nobody would have an account about it. But I really like love that scene of like the lengths Rhaenyra is going to sort of like try to like communicate with Alicent, and you know,
to cause the least amount of deaths. Just to
right?
yeah.
It's just like, hey, like listen, like you know, and she mentioned
You're an
she's
idiot. Yeah.
like, Aegon,
Yeah.
this Song of Ice and Fire,
Yeah.
you know, and I love that moment because it was just like she realized it, and I think in that moment she was like, I don't give a shit what.
She's like, well, I'm more committed. Like, you
right,
know, yeah.
and then realizes like, no, maybe like has time to stew over it.
Aemon
Maybe
she
she's
realizes
right.
Aemon's a psychopath and just doesn't really almost even want to, like, she loves him because he's her son, but she obviously sees how terrible of a person he is.
Right. Both are sons.
Yeah. And I think Aegon is more just like he's a dumb kid who was given the king. Like,
Right.
you know, like he's not.
And his friends are the King's Guards, and they don't know how to be King's
it's his
Guards.
boys.
I love that
I think
scene,
that
yeah.
stuff works.
Yeah.
And like,
They're his
you know,
boys.
and the guy comes in and he's like, dude, we need more food. He's like, well, let's get him food. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
and then
he's trying to do
He
good
does
things,
seem to be
and
like,
then Otto's like,
dude, we can't fucking do that because then if we give
gotta
him
be a king, dude. You gotta be a dick.
yeah, he's like, you start giving him some food, everyone else is gonna want some food.
Yeah.
And like, I think his characterization is interesting because he is very much just like, he's trying to be the person he thinks he's supposed to be, that his parents told him to be. He's the king, apparently. And then when he tries to be involved in a conversation, they're just like, shut the fuck up. Like, I did like that scene of him sitting at the table and, like, they're just kind of talking around him, basically. And he's, like, fiddling with his orb of whatever. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to get the fuck out of here, actually. This is boring. And they're just like, okay. And then they just kind of keep talking. Like, he's just a figurehead.
Yeah.
And then they lay that into him.
When Aemon becomes regent, he kind of like, you know, he's kind of kicking out like Alicent and be like, you were here like as like almost like just because. Like,
yeah. Like,
you don't need to do this anymore. And, you know, and I like, you know, that scene where she kind of fucks off into the woods and just kind of like contemplates suicide for sure.
Yeah.
Having like her first moment of peace where like, you know, it is interesting. And her brother talks about Darian, I think his name is, the other son that we don't see who is not raised in King's Landing. And he's like, he's a good kid. And it's like, is it King's Landing that kind of like corrupts people, or is it like
I think it's the fight for the throne. Almost,
right,
that
the
inner
Game of
politics.
Thrones.
Yeah, that Game of the Thrones. That inner political turmoil and just. I'm always a firm believer of nature versus nurture
exactly
versus
what it
nature.
is,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, you know, it's what you're around, and I think that's why Aemon is so interesting to me. That he seems like he probably is a good guy. That would maybe want to be as. Maybe in the vein of his father to a degree, not as altruistic.
Yeah,
but
and
like,
maybe if Jacaerys wasn't killed, he would be different, because you know, like that's in the first episode, and you know, all shit breaks loose. You know, and them deciding that they're gonna like, you know, wall on the funeral. Rhaenyra did it.
Yeah,
Rhaenyra did it, and bringing Meleis's head through the city. Like, real big mistake, because it's now showing that, like...
See, I don't think so. I think that's the way to, like, because like they say in the show, they're like, this gathers us, like, courage, or gathers us faith, because everyone sees how terrible of an act she committed. But then Aegon hangs all the rat catchers for everyone to see. And that's when, what's his name comes in, he's like, what the fuck are you doing? You just lost us all of our good graces. And you just totally fucked us.
I think parading the dragon's head that they killed through
the dragon's
the streets
head.
of King's Landing is
Sorry,
like,
yeah.
dragons can be killed.
Yeah.
Here it is. And it doesn't inspire, and you know, Kristen
Everyone's
Cole
looking
says it,
at
and
it.
he's like, we just fucking killed this dragon. Why aren't they acting happy? And it's like, well, you just showed them dragons can be killed, and you have a big one. You know, Vhagar she's the biggest dragon, oldest dragon ever, and it's like, you just showed that these godlike creatures can be felled. Like, don't you understand like what you just did?
And they
like,
are these like beautiful, majestic creatures, almost that,
scary
like,
too.
scary,
Like,
of
people
course, but
people are
like
scared of them, but
for
like,
sure.
they can die.
But like they almost look like even you're right.
It's just,
they
it's
were
just a hunk of meat on
and
a
they were
slab.
scared. Yeah, you're right. They were scared, almost like they were like, oh, we aren't as probably safe as I thought we were. Like
Right.
because you guys got to kill theirs. And I thought you couldn't do that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
And I think we see that skull in Game of Thrones. That's one of the skulls
may be.
down in
the Dragon
in
Pit.
the Dragon's Keep.
You know what's funny? Most of what happens to these characters is talked about in Game of Thrones. Joffrey actually tells you what happens
to Rhaenyra. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But What did you think of the Battle of Rook's Rest, where we see Aegon get burnt to a crisp by Aemond? Rhaenys dies, which was like
My queen.
yeah,
the
queen that never was.
She was so good.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed her in both of these seasons.
And the biggest death of the season for sure.
Easily.
Yeah.
I thought for like a split second she was going away, but then when she started to like go over the mountain and crest it, I'm like, oh, she's fucked. And then he just comes up and snags her.
Yeah.
And there was that moment of her like looking at her dragon, which I thought was very touching and sweet. That got punched for sure. It was good. Her whole armor looked great too.
I didn't expect Aegon to get like that fucked up, and then
I kind of thought he was gonna be dead.
And then I was like, holy shit! I'm like, this ruin. Like, what's gonna happen? And I think it's kind of cool that he looks like Viserys now.
I know that was
the opposite side of his face.
Oh, dude, that scene where they were taking off his armor was thoroughly unpleasant. Like they were like pulling it away, and it was like stretching.
They bring him back in the box.
Yeah.
It's like so funny.
Oh my god. There's one thing that we
back.
had, like, and how long was that? He's just sitting in the box for days, like, as they travel.
Dude.
Oh, that was just the thought of that was actually like it made my like insides turn a little bit.
Yeah.
Like kill me,
And
fucking
then,
kill me.
And then like in the last episode when he talks about his like dick.
Yeah, like exploding.
Yeah, like holy
so
shit.
yeah, there's some.
Do you fucking imagine?
No,
Like,
and I don't
holy
want to.
fuck.
Like
Being burned is like a horrible thing.
I mean, like that, especially like you're in metal armor that fuses to you. Like that's like I said, when they pull off like the chest plate and it like there's like
Yeah, his skin's like
awful, thoroughly unpleasant.
Yeah.
But that's what it's supposed to be, so it works.
Yeah.
What was the? Wasn't there a scene in the first season with like a baby that was like pretty bad too, where like some type of scene? Oh, when they had to cut out the baby while she was alive.
Rhaenyra in season 1.
Yeah, they had to, and the mom died.
The dragon-looking baby. Yeah, the weird.
And it died, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Yeah,
that was a
she
tough one.
miscarried, yeah.
Yeah, and they like did an emergency C-section while she was awake.
Oh no, she didn't miscarry.
No, yeah, they just couldn't.
She gave birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Anyways, where else? Where else do we want to go next?
I think that the story beats that are kind of the smaller ones are well, we didn't talk about the Dragon Riders, but we kind of did, except for maybe Adam of Hall we didn't mention. The Corlys one, the one with Daemon's kids.
Yeah,
and
so
like her
what's
finding sheep catcher. Is that dragon, that wild
That's
dragon
what that
out in the
wild
Vale?
dragon.
Yeah.
That's a creepy, weird looking dragon. It's like very ratty and it has like those like
yeah.
spiky
So
wings.
apparently in the book, a girl named Nettles tames it. It's just some random girl,
Oh, interesting.
and she's like a poor. And I think they cut that out. It looks like.
Is she supposed to be a Targaryen in the book? Like
I don't
like a
know.
bastard?
I don't think so.
Interesting. So and then like the other team are from the other team. The black
Valerians?
gentleman that
Corlys
his family.
Valerian.
They are from,
Valyria.
but they aren't dragon riders.
They are.
Their family, like if they married to Targaryens, they do. But like them as themselves, like none of his family was dragon riders, right? That's what I was
I don't
understanding.
think so.
Okay. I liked, by the way, their whole look is so good. Like the blue for their armor and stuff, but also his wig. Oh,
You like
some
it?
great wigs in this season. Yeah, I think
his
his
whole setup
whole look
is-
is awesome.
Yeah. And his bastards are pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
I thought that was an interesting little side story, and I thought that moment with his one bastard being like,
Fuck
I don't want
you.
your fucking help now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been
I'll sell your
I'm
dumb
30.
shit.
Yeah, like what do you
that we've
mean?
been making this whole season.
Yeah,
but-
what do you want me to do, pal? No, I thought that was a really
but then
good
his
moment.
brother's like, jumping at the opportunity to be a dragon rider, and I
And
thought
to
that
please
was,
his dad, like he wants to, like he has that moment. With him
I
be
thought it was cool that Rhaenyra kind of comes to this conclusion. It's like, all right, we need to Jace kind of gives her the idea of like, what if we like there's got to be other Targaryens out there, and
Right.
like him giving her the idea, and then him kind of being like, ooh,
Maybe I
who's this
shouldn't have.
fucking Ulf dude? One more, bring the birds, bring him the birds.
yeah, but
you
can we
know?
bring it back? Can I get more birds?
Yeah, and like him, he's just not being down with like these, he's also sort of projecting because he is a bastard
Right.
and they are bastards. So they're more similar than he wants to admit.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Exactly. And that is what Jace is even saying. Like he has this big moment with Rhaenyra where he's like, well, like, look at my hair. Like if anyone can, if you show that just all that really matters is you just have the dragon.
And she still doesn't admit
What
it
the
to
fu-
him. You know, it is kind of interesting.
Well, I think so.
I guess it
it
really
seems
doesn't
like,
matter.
It seems more like we both understand that this
But
is
like
what
at the end of the day, like you being Harwin Strong's son
doesn't matter. You're a Targaryen. Like you are a Targaryen. You're
Right.
the queen's son. You are the next in line. Which, by the way, that usually does happen with king. They'll bring him in sometimes. I don't know how big bastards were back in the day. Like I'm sure there were so many like King Louis bastards and like random shit back in ancient times. But ancient.
Yeah. It's not talked about.
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
yeah.
So that is interesting. But I do think all of those different dragon riders were kind of interesting molds into themselves. Like I do like that the one guy is just so, he's a poor dude. He was a commoner. He's just he's gonna act like a commoner.
and
he
he tells a story like it's like some tall tale.
Yeah,
It's, like, really
and even
true.
he doesn't quite believe it because he's like when they're bringing Targaryens and he's sitting there. He's like, I don't know. Like this is just a story I was told. Like I might, like I could be. And they're like, no, go. And then that moment where he's like, see, your hair's not silver and you're still Targaryen. I fucking knew it. Like you're right. It's validation for
dark
him.
as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I thought it was interesting. They kind of planted the seeds for this arc in season 1, where you see Targaryen bastards fighting in that fight pit.
Right.
Like pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
We didn't. What did you think about the Eric and Eric deaths?
That was actually sad. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, and Kristen Cole
Sends the dude to die.
A douchebag.
Such a jerk off.
Like, come on, man.
The worst.
Go fucking kill her. Go assassinate her. A fun asshole.
So I thought they were gonna
Blood for blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the way that they were gonna do that was they were gonna try and pull a switcheroo on. Do they I don't feel like they really tell us who's left. I guess it's supposed to be implied that it's her guard left and he kills himself, right? He falls on his sword after he kills his brother.
That's what I think. So
That's She never. You assume,
dude, and the way he throws his.
He's
sword
like
down,
my
just-
queen, and
Yeah.
not good. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, good in the way of emotionally taxing, and it works so well for the scene.
What is the name of the Essos girl, the spy
Oh, I can't remember.
that
off the top of my
Rhaenyra
head.
kisses?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They fucked.
You think?
Yeah,
Scissor.
I mean, maybe. That doesn't happen all the time, Gooch. God.
Scissor.
That always will remind me of fucking South Park with fucking Garrison. Scissor me timber. No. But God damn it, Gooch. God fucking damn it. I'm trying to look up this fucking girl's name now. House of the Dragons.
Yeah, Damon's first wife.
Right. Wait, that's his first. I thought
Second
it was,
wife.
Yeah, because his. Well, no, I thought
Right, because he kills
the one wife dies,
which is
right?
why the Aarons are so pissed at them because of that. That's why, she doesn't treat her when the one daughter goes to
Marissa.
the Vale, and wait, what's her name?
Marissa, the woman who helps her and she kisses.
Let me see it. It's definitely not Marissa.
Maybe I misread it there.
Massaria.
Oh yeah, I was close.
Massaria. I'm like, it's not Marissa.
I did. Anyways, continue.
I think the scene in the last episode where Jason Lannister goes to Essos with the Triarchy and with the one pirate, it's pretty funny.
It is funny.
Yeah, I guess that's a season 3 thing. I guess when that navy will come and fight the Valyrian fleet.
I wonder if there are any I assume there are Dothraki around at this point.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I assume. But yeah, overall, I think it was a great season. I'm looking forward to seeing how the next 2 seasons play out, and hopefully we get at least 4 sooner than we do 3 and 2.
Yeah, I doubt they'll film them back to back just because they haven't done that
and
before.
The last thing, I saw something that mentioned the strike affected this show.
It didn't, because it was in Britain.
I don't think so.
Well, no. So as far as I remember, at the time,
there were 2 more episodes that were cut. This is what I read. There were 2 episodes. I guess that's why the season ends like it does,
right?
Because there were 2 more episodes planned, and I guess we don't. We were some writers standing in solidarity with the SAG-AFTRA people.
I don't think so, because I remember at the time
I just saw this on Twitter.
No,
so.
it makes sense, but I could see why that would make sense. I remember like very vividly at the time them being like things being like British productions and like European productions aren't affected, and they can't with their union rules over there. They can't strike in solidarity with them over here for some reason. Okay. So nothing in Europe was affected. I believe it was only SAG-AFTRA stuff, which was American productions. But that could have been part of it in the way of maybe they were like, maybe we don't have what we need here, and maybe some of them do work in America. But I don't know. I think they can work over here, even if you're part of SAG-AFTRA. But I don't know.
You know what I realized? Peter Dinklage, I think, is one of the only American people in Game of Thrones.
I think you're right.
I'm like...
Sean Bean is British. He is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lena Headey's British, right?
Lena Headey's British.
Is she?
Actually, no. I think she is America. She is America.
She is America.
She is America. No, I think you're actually right.
But before I throw it over to you, I hate actually talking about Game of Thrones because I feel like it's really hard to talk about everything. It's such a deeply dramatic, narrative-driven show that it is kind of hard to just...
She's British.
Okay. It is hard to talk about everything, but any final thoughts?
No, I agree. We're bound to miss something. Nothing else specific here.
We talked about the Song of Ice and Fire. I like when Daemon pledges her loyalty to Rhaenyra Caesar.
I did like that scene a lot, actually.
Yeah, we didn't talk about like the fight,
and the one dude betraying her. He's gonna get his head cut off next season for sure.
Yeah,
piece of shit. That actually surprised me.
And Simon's like, "You fucking little shit."
Yeah, the way he's like, as soon as everyone starts getting up, he's like, "Oh,
I really like Simon Strong. I don't know why.
Simon's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Larys and like necessarily, but the scene where he like. Sort of like is Aegon, it's like you're a cripple now, but guess what? Like nobody suspects that you will be like this conniving fuck like I am.
Yeah, he's like, you got to do. I actually, for such a weird little weasel that he was in the first season
with his foot fetish.
Yeah, I actually did like him in this. He's part of he's a Tully, right?
No, he's a Strong.
Oh no, he is the crippled guy who's helping Aegon.
Yeah, Larys Strong.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I don't know why. I thought
Simon
he was
is his cousin, uncle.
Got it.
He kills his brother and his dad. Simon is his uncle, I think. Yeah,
I see. Okay.
And then the other scene actually too, where the head of the Tully family kind of like gets one up on Daemon and is like, "Well, we hate you, but like you need us, so I'm gonna do what I want."
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That was cool.
It was.
And then he comes back from season 1, and because he was the one who was asking for Rhaenyra's hand, I think.
I think so. Yeah. That sounds about right, but I can't remember for sure.
One of those guys, maybe not that kid, but the Bracken and like the Black Bracken and Blackwood.
Yeah, I think so.
Blackwood and Bracken. Yeah.
Yeah, like
that conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot in this show. It's like hard to fucking
like they're like Hatfield and McCoys, right?
Yeah, it's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Interesting. Yeah, nothing else for me. I don't think it's a pretty good season. I don't think it's worthy of the 10s all over. I feel like a lot of these episodes we're getting, but it was definitely fantastic. I will definitely say that. Worth checking out. I'm excited to see where it leads. I'm happy to know that the end is in sight too. I think it's cool to know that.
Yeah, I think everyone knew that this was going to be a 3 or 4.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know very little about like the stuff this is based off of.
I'm tempted to read that before I read Game of Thrones.
Almost just to get a nice lore
I'm
back.
not reading Game of Thrones until that last book
That's
is
what I'm
out.
saying, and like God only knows if that ever even will at this point. I mean, I would hope so, but how old is George R. R. Martin? George R. R. Martin?
I don't know.
Fucking butters.
Old enough.
All right. I think that does do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your podcast service of choice. We're on all your social medias as well, at Delco Nerds on everything with an @ We got a Facebook page, a Discord channel. All that good stuff will be linked down below. You can find all this information, though, on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to DelcoNerds@gmail.com. We're happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.